What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, before we get started with the video, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the post notification bell, hit the like button so you know whenever I put out any new content, supporting the channel. Appreciate all of the support that the channel does get. And I wanted to wait a few days, obviously, because of the events of how Friday's game ended, but I do want to talk a little bit about the preseason game on Friday, and I got to start off with still continuing to pray for Morice Norris and his family and the Lions organization. And I'm glad to hear that, last that we did hear was that he was up. He was in stable condition. He was talking. So that is encouraging, about as encouraging as you can hear. It was obviously a very serious matter, and it was one of those things that, puts into perspective just how serious life can get, even when you don't expect it to get serious. So, very scary situation for him and his family. And, it didn't look good. So, I'm at least glad to hear that, he's up and he's talking, he's in stable condition. But I do want to talk a little about how the game went on Friday versus the Detroit Lions. And obviously, the game was suspended in the fourth quarter after the injury. And there was really no point to continue that game. It was a preseason game. It was essentially a scrimmage. So there's really no point to continue it. It's not going to matter in the grand scheme of things for really anything, especially considering it was the fourth quarter. But there were some things that we saw in this game that I do think are worth pointing out, or at least talking about. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is, yes, the Falcons, when the game did end, the score said 17-10 Lions, which obviously I'm not even going to say win or loss, because in preseason there is no such thing as winning or losing, I think. But honestly, I've seen the Falcons in the preseason in the past really just not look good, really look sluggish. That wasn't the case on Friday night. You saw a team come out and they were flying around. They laid out some really big hits. The one that DeMarco Helms had in the first quarter that, essentially everyone forgot it was preseason for a moment. Everyone just got hyped up. That is one of those hits. It was a clean hit that will get you hyped up for a guy like DeMarco Helms, especially, who pretty much had to miss all of last year with an injury and is fighting for his roster spot this year. You really love to see him going out there and laying it all out on the line. We also saw the Falcons force 2 fumbles in the first half, and it really felt like the defense was definitely being more aggressive with getting to the quarterback and disrupting the backfield. I think that's the thing we've been asking for a long time. Now, it's just one preseason game, and obviously preseason only tells you so much. That wasn't our starters out there. Now, there were some guys out there actually that will probably start this year. Rukaroro was playing out there. Morgan Fox was out there. Pretty much everyone on the defensive line, not David Onyemata, was out there. Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr., which Detroit did not want James Pierce Jr. to do anything in that game. They were double blocking him. They were chip blocking him. They were putting tight ends on him. They were making sure that James Pierce Jr. could not be effective in that game. But it opened up other opportunities for the defense. We saw Jalen Walker get back there on a few plays and really get, his legs under the water, finally with some live NFL action. We saw the Falcons force 2 fumbles, and we really saw an aggressive defense. We saw a defense that really wanted to get after the quarterback, and that's why I always say preseason, it doesn't matter if you win or lose, but one of the biggest things that you look for out of preseason is what could the identity of this team potentially look like. And if Friday night was any indication, I think we're going to get a, team that is going to fly around, that wants to cause disruption, and that is really a lot of the Jeff Ulbrich blueprint that we have heard about this offseason. And I think a lot of us are hoping to see, because as we know, the Falcons' big issue has been getting to the quarterback. So seeing that there was at least a blueprint Friday night that, yes, this defense is going to be aggressive, is going to get to the quarterback, and it was just one game. But pretty much, I will say this. I was more satisfied in just how that defense looked on Friday schematically, more so than I was any game last season when Jimmy Lake was a defensive coordinator. I absolutely think that Jeff Ulbrich knows way more what he is doing than Jimmy Lake, and I think that instantly puts the Falcons in a better situation to have a better defense in 2025. Going over the offensive side of the ball for a second, Easton Stick, man, he did really good. Went 15 for 18, 149 yards, a touchdown pass at the end of the first half. Nothing to complain about for him. He went out there, he did his job, and if I'm willing to bet, he will probably be kept at least on this practice squad and be that emergency third quarterback, which is pretty much what I think we are seeing the quarterbacks this preseason do. Just fight for that third emergency spot. But so far, Easton Stick, he put on a really solid showing on Friday night. So you didn't see anything that really discouraged you in any way. And I will say this, even though you got to remind yourself all the time it doesn't matter, it is really easy for a lot of people to get overhyped or to basically call the season off and say that it's over and we have no chance after the preseason because we haven't seen any football in so long. And we got to remember that preseason is laying a foundation and laying the blueprint for the team. You hope that no one gets injured. That's why after Morice Norris went down, there was really no point in continuing that game. So you hope no one gets injured, and you also just want to lay the blueprint of your team. Now, I at least prefer to see the starters get out there and get loose, which we did see with some guys that are going to be playing on defense. But as far as the offense goes, and I think really looking forward to this upcoming week, we will hear more about it. But the offense with the third stringers, looked all right. You didn't see the running game do anything, but it wasn't Bijan Robinson or Tyler Algier. It was guys that are not going to even be on this roster. But the offense looked all right and serviceable for a preseason game. And that's really how you chop it down to. As far as some of the position battles go, I will say that we did see both D. Alford and Billy Bowman out there. And I don't think Billy Bowman necessarily did anything that, discouraged any of us either. You got to remember he's a rookie. So he's definitely still in that position battle with D. Alford. And I still think he has a chance to come out the starter. The safety battle that we saw all three safeties get some playing time. I mentioned DeMarco Helms, Jordan Fuller was out there, and Xavier Watts was out there also. And if I were still willing to put money on it, I would say I could see Jordan Fuller being the starter week one, but I still do think you're going to see a lot of Xavier Watts early in this year, and I think it's only a matter of time before he is a starter. One of the other things that I know was a big topic of conversation around the game on Friday was the kicking situation. And this past Friday was clearly Lenny Craig's game to shine and show what he's got. And he booted a 57-yard field goal that probably could have been good from 60. But at the same time, he also missed a 52-yard field goal. So I believe he went 1 for 2 on field goals. He made his extra point. So Kuz, I would assume, is going to get his opportunity this upcoming Friday versus Tennessee. And we go from there. As I think I have said before, it looks like Younghoe Koo will be the starting kicker, but they will be able to carry Lenny Craig on the practice squad due to that international designation that he has. So he'll be able to still be a part of this organization in the event that anything does happen with Koo and we'll have an emergency kicking situation. But as I say, the number one takeaway is obviously praying for that young man and that he's okay. And there was nothing that I saw that was discouraging, because there are times that it's easy to get discouraged by what you see out of the Falcons in preseason. I didn't see anything like that on Friday. Now, as far as looking forward to what this upcoming week is going to look like versus the Titans, I would assume, and I've said this, if you see any of Michael Penix in the starting offense, I think this Friday will be the game that you see it. Typically, a lot of teams like to use that second preseason game as the dress rehearsal game. So I would expect you probably see definitely more of your position battles. Probably see more Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. to get them more loose. And I would say that if you are going to see Michael Penix or the Stars this preseason, this Friday would be the game they do it. But I'm still going to go ahead and say I do not think we're going to see Michael Penix this preseason. I really don't even think we're going to see Penix or Kirk this preseason, to be honest with you. I could see them rolling Easton Stick out there again on Friday and it'd just be him and Emory Jones. Even though I do think that maybe it's more of a possibility we at least see Kirk, because he's the number 2 quarterback, but especially if you do want to use him as trade value, you still do want him out there playing a little bit and, keeping him sharp a little bit. So maybe we see Kirk for a little bit, but I wouldn't even necessarily bet on that. I do not expect us to see Michael Penix or any of the starting offense like Bijan, Drake, or any of those guys, Kyle Pitts. But the open practice that we're going to have 2 open practices versus Tennessee this week. That, I think, will also tell us a lot about how we actually measure with our starters out there practicing against Tennessee starters in an actual, it's not a preseason game and they're not wearing the actual in-game jerseys, but it's as close as you can get. So we are going to, I think, get an idea coming out of that of maybe how this team looks against a Titans team that will also be playing a lot of their ones. I will say we'll probably see a lot of Cam Ward this upcoming Friday. We saw him and they played their first preseason game down in Tampa yesterday. So we will probably see more of him this Friday at the Benz. But that open practice I also think will tell us a lot. Actually going up against another team's starters, even if we don't play them in the preseason game, those joint practices will tell us a lot. But anyways, with that being said, appreciate everyone for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care.